I'm Saladino.
Dreams what I'm chasing, flow hot as chafing. This is why I'm hot, no, that is why I'm blazing.
The only thing I'm having trouble believing with regards to this Black Myth Wukong, which is for the kids, but this Black Myth Wukong controversy regarding this extortion story. I believe the extortion story. I don't know if it's exactly Sweet Baby Inc. or Black Girl Gamers or hitpiece or hit detection, whatever that other group's name is. There's a bunch of these DEI groups out there. So whoever extorted or tried to extort money from Game Science, the developers of Black Myth Wukong, I believe that that part of the story is true. What I don't believe or can't believe is how much money they were demanding. Hey, we're going to clean up your image that we helped to create, this negative image Game Science has of being a sexist, misogynist, racist company that doesn't like diversity, hates women, whatever, right? We're going to help you clean up your image and make your game, Black Myth Wukong, star an actual black person. And we don't mean the monkey. We are going to do this for you out of the goodness and kindness of our own hearts. We're going to help promote your game, change your negative image by charging you $7 million. I can't believe it's $7 million. Maybe it was supposed to be 7 million yen and it got lost in translation. And 7 million yen is what, $45,000? I mean, that sounds too much for this consultation nonsense, but that's more quote unquote reasonable than $7 million. If, say, Sweet Baby Inc. were the ones who said this, if they can command $7 million to do their destructive work on a game, how is it that they have employees like Chris Kendrick, like complete unprofessional, unhinged morons working for them? And they don't put this clown on a leash. They let him cause all this trouble, all this undue attention. And maybe they're doing this 4D chess thing where they think that the negative attention on them allows them to put up the shield of racism so that they'll always be protected. Maybe that's it. Maybe they could say, look how they're attacking us. They say and do unhinged things, which attracts like angry responses from people. And then they can go, oh my God, you see how violent they are? Because look at Alyssa McConaughey's article where she's protecting Sweet Baby Inc. and Chris Kendrick, and how she didn't mention at all that Chris Kendrick and Sweet Baby Inc. started the mess. So I don't know. So I did this video on this article that IGN did back in November. How Black Myth Wukong developers' history of sexism is complicating its journey to the West. Indie developer Game Science's global fame is forcing it to confront its own sexism and that of the Chinese tech industry. That sounds like a threat because this headline and this subheadline makes it sound like their feet are being held to the fire and they're really like, oh my God, they're scrambling. What can we do? We're being seen as hating women. But when you read the article, and in my video, I debunk, because I read the entire article, it's way too long. In my video, I debunk all these claims, quote unquote, I debunk it. Debunked in the sense that when you read the article and you see the actual accusations, the so-called receipts, it's clearly bullshit. And the thing is, I didn't uncover anything special about this. It was obvious to anyone who saw this article, who read part of it, who just looked at the headline and the subheadline. It was clear it was a hit piece. IGN disabled comments, and then on the tweet that promoted the article, they disabled replies. And then at some point when after the article was published, they were forced to put in a kind of, not a retraction, but to add extra contents, like an update to the article, because it's written by this entity named Rebecca Valentine and somebody named Ki Hoon Chan. Apparently, Ki Hoon Chan, the co-writer, had this torrid affair with somebody who worked at Tencent. So that entity, Ki Hoon Chan, could be seen as having an axe to grind. And so that's why they're co-writing this article attacking the Chinese tech industry. So these stupid accusations were things like just crude comments, vulgar comments, not directed at anybody, just things that the co-founder of Game Science, I think his name was Fang Zheng, he said the way he talks is he has a very like vulgar way of talking sometimes, just very, like, he talked about, he compared game design to, trying to conceive a child and then, bring a baby to term. And then he used things like, well, how come this game didn't succeed? Is it because the sperm is not virile enough? Stuff like that. And then at a certain point, when he was responding, he was basically responding to a showcase of Black Myth Wukong, which is for the kids. He was on his Twitter, or Weibo. He was on Weibo, which is, I guess, the Chinese Twitter. And he was making comments like, I want to bring more people basically to the studio to surround myself with, so until I'm licked, till I can't get an erection anymore, something like that. But Asmongold put out a video just recently, and they explained in that video that a lot of the comments that were being used, the receipts by IGN that was being used to demonstrate Fang Jie's sexism or whatever, or his vulgarity, was being purposely mistranslated. So it made it sound like the one about the erection, it sounded like he was saying he wanted to bring people to the studio to suck him off until he couldn't get hard anymore. Whereas what he really said was, I want to bring new people in, but basically anybody I talk to are, fillet me so much, glaze me so much. It's a colloquialism. They glazing me so much, I can't even get hard anymore, which means basically he meant I don't even have the enthusiasm to bring more people in because, these people are just going overboard. Stuff like that. So throughout that article, it was a lot of just nonsense where it was men being men. Nobody was being targeted by this. Like, in other words, he wasn't, like, none of these guys were saying anything to actual women working there. They were just saying stuff. And if a woman saw it on social media, she'd get offended and then complain. And then somehow that became sexism and misogyny. That was the whole point of my video, was that everything is made to seem as if it's sexism or misogyny when it's just literally men just being normal guys. And again, it's not like they're saying, hey, chick, you got a nice ass, so here, let me grab your tits. They're just literally just making comments. And if somebody on social media sees it or hears it, they get mad, and they're expecting these guys to retract their comments or change it. And these guys weren't doing that. And so there's this whole hit piece about it. And to me, I thought the hit piece was just about the fact that Black Myth Wukong was getting popular with gamers. IGN hates that. Game journals hate when a game gets really popular. If it doesn't have any DEI in it, if they can't go crazy over some safe, horny icon that's been created, then they get mad and they try to do everything they can, especially when it's from the East. They try to do everything they can to cripple its success, cripple its chances of success. But it seems like there's even more to it than that. It seems like they do this stuff, this hit piece stuff, in order to extort the company. They literally, this is true. They literally thought, okay, we're going to put out these hit pieces against Game Science and Black Myth Wukong, right? And apparently it wasn't just IGN. I think the Gamer did one too. Put out an article around like April of last year saying, I'm Chinese or I'm Asian and I'm not excited about Black Myth Wukong. You don't have to be. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't care about that. I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so let's see. From Pirate Nation. Chinese media. Black Myth Wukong refused to be extorted $7 million by Sweet Baby. Now, I don't know if it's actually Sweet Baby, but that's what this says. English. So it's translated from, I think it was a Chinese tech blogger who actually interviewed people at Game Science. That's as far as I understand it. The reason why the team behind Black Myth Wukong has been subjected to persistent sexist attacks and slander since their first promotional video, because they have consistently refused political correctness guidance and rejected the extortionate guidance fees. I think they mean whatever. The extortionate guidance fees of millions of dollars demanded by these political correctness teams. Actually, such teams are quite common in Europe and America. Yeah, we know that. They interfere with works like Assassin's Creed, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, and God of War. By pushing for politically correct female protagonists. That's what happened to Freya in Ragnarok. She was just a disaster. I cannot stand that character. And I really liked her in God of War. But in Ragnarok, she was awful. And they uglified her. She wasn't even super glam in the first game, but they made her look worse in the second game, and constantly dirty and filthy. And then running her mouth constantly to Kratos, like trying to instigate fights. This woman, okay, whatever. These changes are the direct result of the interference and guidance of such teams. Exactly. Game Science teams refuse to communicate with these groups and reject their interference. Most importantly, they refuse to pay the exorbitant $7 million in guidance fees. 7 million, maybe it's 7 million yen. They refuse to pay the exorbitant $44,000 in guidance fees. No, it's probably 7 million. This is the direct reason why they are being attacked and slandered. Some justifications are based on the team's lack of diversity or representation. People don't play games for representation. Especially, I don't want to play a Chinese game with some, I'm not going to say, I was going to use a slur against my own people, but I don't want to play a Chinese game with some black people in it. I don't.
Making her the first woman to be a primary play-by-play announcer for a team in MLB history. This is all a result, of course, from what happened last year, when longtime Oakland play-by-play announcer Glenn Kuiper accidentally slipped up live on air and referred to the Negro League Museum as the... Yeah, I think you probably get where that was going.
Say the N-word, I must.
You can't say that word, Yoda.
Yes, I can.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, yeah. Some justifications are based on the team's lack of diversity or representation, which doesn't align with the political correctness standards. A typical example is an article by a major IGN writer criticizing Hogwarts Legacy and refusing to evaluate or promote it due to its alleged lack of political correctness. This is what they do. So, game journals are supposed to be journalists. They're supposed to be telling you the story, reporting on the news. Maybe, giving you their opinion. That's fine if they get, if they separating it from, you have a news piece, journal piece, and then you have an opinion piece. Fine. You can have different journals doing different things, but they all do the same thing. They all get together and decide whether they're reporting on the news or they're giving their opinion. They just combine it together and decide, hey, you know what? I don't like the comments J.K. Rowling made. And like I said, it's always just like with the article IGN put out about it being, sexism or whatever. And these comments weren't sexist. They were just making things that offended them. J.K. Rowling, her comments were not transphobic. She literally was saying, men can't be women. Don't take what a woman is and give it to people who are not women. Let's not go that far. You could be trans. I accept you. I'll love you and support you. But being trans is not the same as being an actual woman. And they call that transphobic. They don't even define trans correctly anymore. Trans used to be somebody, a man or a woman, who thought they were the opposite gender. Now it means a person who can identify as that, and you have to accept them as that, whether it's true or not. But yeah, it's just wild. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we don't know the whole story yet. Like I said, they're saying $7 million. I can't believe that Sweet Baby Inc., for instance, or Black Girl Gamers can command that amount of money, given how incompetent they are, given how poorly they're handling everything. But to hear stories like this, to watch Chris Kendrick constantly make a fool of himself, and Alyssa Mercante by extension, it's hard to believe that that much money is being thrown around. You have all these idiots out in the field at GDC this year, screaming and yelling at problems in the industry. But when articles are written about it, and even when they themselves, the people screaming who organized the stupid GD Scream or whatever, they're talking about things like representation and diversity and racism, as opposed to saying, we're being exploited by publishers and studios and all this stuff, and we're being taken for a ride. We're not getting paid properly. We're just being laid off willy-nilly after these terrible games are put out, and these dumb predatory practices are laid out, and nobody falls for them. You get companies like Sweet Baby Inc. coming in, destroying the vision we had for games. They're not focusing on that. They're sitting there focusing on the chuds on Twitter or people complaining about MJ's jaw. So yeah, all of this is a racket. DEI has nothing to do with diversity and inclusion or anything like that. It's a smokescreen for people to exploit the industry to get what they want. And they use gamers, the people who propped up this industry through their time, money, attention, as the bad guy, to distract these clowns who are within the industry, suffering, getting laid off, working their asses off to make these games, and basically with their hands tied behind their back because they can't express themselves fully without pissing somebody off who cares about, pronouns in their bio and that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. We'll probably hear a little bit more about this in the next couple of months before Black Myth Wukong comes out. But it's funny to me, just one last thing, to think that whoever it was that tried to extort game science into cleaning up their image, how stupid they are not to realize even after Hogwarts Legacy's success. And this might have been before Hogwarts Legacy actually came out. But now, with the success of Hogwarts Legacy, any company should know that actually rejecting Sweet Baby Inc. and Black Girl Gamers and Hit Detection, whoever else does this DEI stuff and tries to extort you. Just let everybody know what happened, and you'll actually get more money by publicly coming out against those groups than going along with them.
Fuck said to speak, Mr. Me, Siamese. Even Christ said Christ. He flows quite nicely. Hypebeast highly likely to bite me and try to high-five me, but I just give him high threes, cause y'all don't get to touch me on this shit. Sue me if you got an issue, grab a tissue. Mediocrity is odd to me.